হ্যালো গাইস, আসসালামু আলাইকুম। আশা করছি আপনারা সবাই অনেক ভালো আছেন। তো আজকে আবার আরেকটা নতুন ভিডিও নিয়ে চলে আসলাম আপনাদের মাঝে। আপনারা অনেকজনই আমাকে কমেন্ট করেছেন যে ভাই আকাশে ফিক দিয়ে কিভাবে ভিডিও বানাবো, বা আকাশে আমার প্রিয় দলের ফিক কিভাবে বসাবো, মেসির ফিক বা নেইমারের ফিক কিভাবে বসাবো। তো আজকে আমি আপনাদেরকে বিস্তারিত সব কিছু দেখিয়ে দিব কিভাবে আপনারা আকাশে পিক বসায় ভিডিও করবেন। তো আপনারা যারা এই ভিডিওটা শিখতে চান, টিউটোরিয়ালটা শিখতে চান, তাহলে আজকের পুরো ভিডিওটা আপনাদেরকে সম্পূর্ণ দেখতে হবে, তাহলে আপনারা শিখতে পারবেন। তো আপনারা দেখতেছেন আইটি টেক, আপনাদের সাথে আছি আমি তানবীর। তো আর দেরি না করে চলুন শুরু করা যাক। তো গাইস, আমরা চলে আসলাম আমাদের মোবাইল ফোনের স্ক্রিনে। তো সরাসরি আমরা এখন চলে যাব প্লে স্টোরে। তো প্লে স্টোরে আসার পর আমরা সার্চ বারে সার্চ করব ক্যাপকাট। ক্যাপকাট সার্চ করার পর এরকম একটা অ্যাপস আপনার সামনে শো করবে। তো আপনারা এখান থেকে ইনস্টল করে নেবেন, যেহেতু আমার আগে ইনস্টল করা আছে। আর যারা অ্যাপসটা এখানে খুঁজে না পান, আমি ডিসক্রিপশন বক্সে অ্যাপসের লিঙ্ক দিয়ে দিব, আপনারা চাইলে ওখান থেকে ইনস্টল করে নিতে পারেন। তো আমরা সরাসরি এখন ওপেন করব। তো ওপেন করার পর আমাদেরকে এরকম একটা ইন্টারফেস শো করবে। তারপর দেখেন নিউ প্রজেক্ট নামে একটা অপশন আছে, ওখানে একটা টাচ করবেন। ওখানে আসার পর আপনার গ্যালারিতে যতগুলো ভিডিও এবং ফটো আছে সবগুলো শো করবে। তো আপনি আপনার যে ভিডিওতে আকাশে পিক বসাতে চান, আপনি এইখান থেকে ওই ভিডিওটা সিলেক্ট করবেন। তো আমি এখন আমার ভিডিওটা সিলেক্ট করব, আমি যে ভিডিওর মধ্যে পিক বসাবো। তো আমি সিলেক্ট করলাম। সিলেক্ট করার পর দেখেন নিচে অ্যাড অপশন আছে, অ্যাড অপশনে একটা টাচ করে দিবেন। অ্যাড অপশানে আসার পর আপনাদের সামনে এরকম একটা ইন্টারফেস শো করবে। তারপর দেখেন এখানে একদম লাস্টে আসলে দেখেন ক্যাপকাটের একটা লোগো আছে, আমরা এই লোগোটা ডিলিট করে দিব। যদি এই লোগোটা ডিলিট না করি তাহলে এটা আপনাদের ভিডিওর সাথে চলতে থাকবে। তো ডিলিট কীভাবে করব? ডিলিট করার জন্য লোগোর উপর একটা টাচ করব। লোগোর উপর টাচ করার পর দেখেন ডিলিট একটা অপশন চলে আসছে, আমরা ডিলিট একটা টাচ করে দিব, তাহলে এটা ডিলিট হয়ে যাবে। এখন আমরা ফিকটা বসাবো কীভাবে ওইটা দেখাবো। তো এখন আপনারা যেই বরাবর ফিকটা বসাবেন ভিডিওর, আপনারা ওই বরাবর ভিডিওটাকে এভাবে টেনে নিয়ে যাবেন। তো আমরা একবার প্লে করে দেখি আমরা কোথায় ফিকটা বসাবো। তো আমরা এখান থেকে ফিকটা বসাবো, যেহেতু হাত দিছে একটা পিক আসবে এখানে সুন্দর, মানে ও আমাকে লাভ করে, ডু ইউ লাভ মি 1 2 3। তো আপনারা চাইলে এরকম ভিডিও দিয়ে বসাতে পারেন। তো এখন আমি আপনাদেরকে দেখাচ্ছি কীভাবে বসাবেন। তো আপনারা এই বরাবর ভিডিওটাকে নিয়ে এসে ভিডিওর লেয়ারের উপর একটা টাচ করে দিবেন। ভিডিওর লেয়ারের উপর টাচ করলে দেখেন এখানে অনেকগুলো অপশন চলে আসছে। তো আমরা এখান থেকে স্প্লিট নামের যে অপশনটা আছে, স্প্লিটে একটা টাচ করে দিব। স্প্লিটে টাচ করলে কি হবে, আমাদের ভিডিওটা দুই ভাগ হয়ে যাবে। যেহেতু আমরা এখান থেকে পিক বসাবো, আবার এখান থেকে একটা অ্যানিমেশন দিব, যাতে কি পিকটা এখানে দিছি যাতে না বোঝা যায়, মানে কি হাতের সাথে যেন পিকটা চলে আসে, এটা যাতে না বোঝা যায়। তো এখন আমরা পিকটা বসাবো। তো পিকটা বসানোর জন্য আমাদেরকে দেখেন ওভারলে একটা অপশন আছে, ওভারলেতে একটা টাচ করে দিব। ওভারলেতে আসার পর দেখেন অ্যাড ওভারলে নামে আরেকটা অপশন আছে, অ্যাড ওভারলেতে একটু আসবো। আসার পর দেখেন পাশে ফটোস নামে যে অপশনটা আছে ওখানে একটা টাচ করে দিবেন। ওখানে আসলে আপনার গ্যালারিতে যতগুলো ফটো আছে আপনার সবগুলো ফটো শো করবে। তো এখন আপনি যে ফটোটা আপনার ভিডিওর মধ্যে বসাবেন, আপনি এখান থেকে ওই ফটোটা সিলেক্ট করবেন। তো আমি আমার ফটোটা এখন সিলেক্ট করব। তো আমি আমার এই ফটোটা ভিডিওর মধ্যে বসাবো। তো ফটোটা সিলেক্ট করার পর দেখেন নিচে অ্যাড অপশন আছে, অ্যাড অপশনে একটা টাচ করবেন। অ্যাড অপশনে আসার পর আপনাদেরকে আবার নিয়ে আসবে এই ইন্টারফেসের মধ্যে। আসার পরে আপনাদের ভিডিওটা যতটুক ফিকটা ততটুক রাখবেন। তো ফিকটা কিভাবে রাখবেন, তো ভিডিও বরাবর একটা টাচ করে দিবেন। টাচ করলে দেখেন এখন বরাবর করে নিয়ে আসছে। তো আমরা এখন ফিকটা কাটবো, এখান থেকে কাটার জন্য ফিকের লেয়ারের উপর একটা টাচ করব। টাচ করলে দেখেন স্প্লিট নামে একটা অপশন আছে, স্প্লিটে একটা টাচ করে দিলে ফিকটা দুই ভাগ হয়ে যাবে। তো এখন আমরা বাকি যে অংশটা আছে আমরা এই অংশটা এখন ডিলিট করে দিব। ডিলিট করার জন্য ওই অংশের উপর একটা টাচ করব। টাচ করলে দেখেন ডিলিট নামে অপশন চলে আসছে, ডিলিট একটা টাচ করে দিব, তাহলে আমাদের ফিকটা ডিলিট হয়ে যাবে বাকি অংশটা। তো এখন একটু প্লে করে দেখি। তো দেখেন এখন আমাদের পিকটা একটু সুন্দর লাগতেছে না। তো এখন আমরা পিকটা বসাবো যাতে না বোঝা যায় একদম আকাশের মধ্যে। তো পিকটা বসানোর জন্য পিকের উপর একটা টাচ করে দিবেন সবার আগে। টাচ করার পর আমরা যে বরাবর বসাবো একটু জুম করে নিব ওই বরাবর। আপনারা যে পিকটা বসাবেন আপনাদের একটু সুন্দর করে বরাবর করে নেবেন যাতে না বোঝা যায়। তো আমি এই বরাবর রাখলাম। এই বরাবর রাখার পর একটু যে অপশনগুলো আছে এদিকে একটু আসবেন, ডান দিকে আসার পর দেখবেন মাস্ক নামে একটা অপশন আছে, এই মাস্কে একটা টাচ করে দিবেন। মাস্কে আসার পর দেখেন এখানে আরও অনেকগুলো অপশন চলে আসছে। তো এখান থেকে দেখেন হার্ট নামে যে অপশনটা আছে ওখানে একটা টাচ করে দিবেন। ওখানে টাচ করার পর দেখেন এরকম করে চলে আসলো। তো আপনারা যতটুকু পর্যন্ত পিকটা রাখবেন আকাশের মধ্যে ততটুকু পর্যন্ত বসাবেন। তো আমি আমারটা বসাচ্ছি আমার মতো করে, আপনারা আপনাদেরটা বসাবেন। তো আমি এতটুক বসাবো। এতটুক দেওয়ার পরে দেখেন পিকের মধ্যে একটা তীর চিহ্ন দেওয়া আছে, ওখানে একটা টাচ করে দিবেন। ওখানে একটু টেনে নিচের দিকে করে দিবেন। দাঁড়ান, হচ্ছে দেখেন নিচের দিকে দেওয়ার পর দেখেন নিচে দিয়ে পিকটা এখন বোঝা যাচ্ছে না যে আমরা পিকটা এখানে বসাইছি। তো আমরা যদি যে ভিডিওটা করছে তাকেও যদি দেখাতে চাই তাহলে পিকটা আর একটু হালকা করে দিব। তা হালকা কীভাবে করব, এখানে হলুদ যে দাগটা আছে দাগটাকে একটু এদিকে টেনে দিব। এদিকে টেনে দিলে তাহলে যে ভিডিওটা করছে তাকেও দেখা যাবে এবং আমার পিকটাও বসাইছি যে একেবারে বোঝা যাবে না। দেখেন এখন আমরা একবার প্লে করে দেখব, দেখি কীরকম হয়। তো এখন আমরা টিকমার্কে একটা টাচ করে দিব। টিকমার্ক আসার পর এখন ভিডিওটা প্লে করে দেখি। দেখেন এখন একদম কোনোভাবেই বোঝা যাচ্ছে না যে আমরা পিকটা বসাইছি, কোনো দাগ নাই নিচে, কোনো কিছুই নাই, কোনো স্পট নাই এখানের মধ্যে। তো এখন আমি আপনাদেরকে আরও একটু অ্যানিমেশন অ্যাড করে দিব, যেহেতু পিকটা বসাইছি হাতের সাথে যাতে না বোঝা যায় পিকটার ইয়াটা। তো এখন আমরা অ্যানিমেশন কীভাবে বসাবো, অ্যানিমেশন বসানোর জন্য যে ভিডিওটার মধ্যে টাচ করে দিব। টাচ করার পর দেখেন অ্যানিমেশন নামে একটা অপশন আছে, অ্যানিমেশনে আসবো। অ্যানিমেশনে আসলে দেখেন ইন নামে যে অপশনটা আছে ইনে আসবো। ইনে আসার পর এখানে অনেক সুন্দর সুন্দর অ্যানিমেশন আছে, আপনারা যে অ্যানিমেশনটা বসাবেন ওই অ্যানিমেশনটা এখান থেকে সিলেক্ট করবেন। তো আমি আমার মন মতো একটা সিলেক্ট করতেছি। তো আমি এই অ্যানিমেশনটা সিলেক্ট করলাম। তো এই অ্যানিমেশনটা সিলেক্ট করার পর টিক মার্কে একটা টাচ করে দিব। তো টিক মার্কে আসার পর একটু প্লে করে দেখি। তো দেখেন আমাদের এখন ভিডিওতে কিন্তু অ্যানিমেশন হয়েছে, বাট কি পিকের মধ্যে অ্যানিমেশনটা দিতে পারি নাই। তো পিকের মধ্যে অ্যানিমেশন দেওয়ার জন্য আমরা পিকের উপর একটা টাচ করে দিব। আমরা ভিডিওতে যে অ্যানিমেশনটা দিছি পিকের মধ্যেও সেম অ্যানিমেশনটা দিব, যাতে এটা যে হাতের সাথে যাতে না বোঝা যায় এরকম করে অ্যানিমেশনটা দিব। তো এখন আমরা পিকের মধ্যে টাচ করার পর অ্যানিমেশনে একটা টাচ করে দিব। অ্যানিমেশন না আসার পর আবার আগের মতো ইনে আসবো। ইনে আসলে সেমভাবে যে আগে যে অ্যানিমেশনটা দিছি এখনও সেম অ্যানিমেশনটা দিব। দেখছেন, এখন একটু প্লে করে দেখি। ওকে, আবার টিকমার্কে টাচ করে দিলাম। দেন এখন প্লে করে দেখব। দেখেন তো গাইজ, দেখো তোমরা এখন একদম ক্লিয়ার, কোনোভাবেই বোঝা যাচ্ছে না এখন এটা পিকটা যে আসছে হঠাৎ করে হাতের সাথে একেবারে সুন্দর করে পিকটা চলে আসলো। তো আপনারা চাইলে এখানে আর একটু ইফেক্ট অ্যাড করতে পারেন। তো ইফেক্ট অ্যাড করার জন্য ভিডিওতে একটা টাচ করে দিবেন। ভিডিওতে টাচ করার পর পাশে একটা আইকন আছে, আইকনে টাচ করে দিবেন। আইকনে আসার পর আবার আইকনে টাচ করবেন। তারপর দেখেন ইফেক্ট নামে একটা অপশন আছে, ইফেক্টে একটা টাচ করে দিবেন। তো ইফেক্টটা আসার পর এখানে অনেকগুলো সুন্দর সুন্দর ইফেক্ট চলে আসবে। তো আমরা দেখি কোন ইফেক্টটা সুন্দর। আমরা এই ইফেক্টটা বসাবো। তো এই ইফেক্টটা বসানোর পর ইফেক্টে টাচ করে দিব। ইফেক্টে টাচ করার পর একটা টিক মার্কে টাচ করে দিব। তাহলে দেখেন আমাদের ইফেক্টটা অ্যাড হয়ে গেছে। তো দেখেন ইফেক্টটা একটু বড়, তো আমরা ইফেক্টটাকে ছোট করে দিব। তো ইফেক্টের উপর একটা টাচ করে দিব। টাচ করার পর ইফেক্টটাকে টেনে বরাবর করে দিব। তো একটু প্লে করে দেখি। তো গাইস, আশা করি তোমাদেরকে বোঝাইতে পারছি কীভাবে আমরা আকাশের মধ্যে পিক বসাবো। তো তোমরা চাইলে এখানের মধ্যে তোমাদের প্রিয় দলের পিক বসাতে পারো, মেসির পিক বসাতে পারো, যেহেতু এখন বিশ্বকাপ আসতেছে সামনে, আবার কোপা আমেরিকা চলতেছে। তো যে এটা মন চায় ওটা বসাবা। তো এখন আমরা ভিডিওটা সেভ করব। তো ভিডিওটা সেভ করার জন্য আমরা উপরে একটা আইকন আছে, আইকনে একটা টাচ করে দিব। আইকনে টাচ করার পর দেখো এক্সপোর্ট নামে অপশন আছে, এক্সপোর্টে একটা টাচ করে দিব। তাহলে গ্যালারিতে আমাদের ভিডিওটা সেভ হয়ে যাবে। তো গাইস, আশা করছি আপনাদের ভিডিওটি অনেক ভালো লেগেছে। যদি ভিডিওটি ভালো লেগে থাকে তাহলে একটি কমেন্ট করে দিবেন আর একটি লাইক করে দিবেন। আর যারা এখনও সাবস্ক্রাইব করেন নাই প্লিজ সাবস্ক্রাইব করে দিয়ে পাশে থাকবেন, যাতে পরবর্তী ভিডিওর নোটিফিকেশান সবার আগে আপনার কাছে চলে যায়। তো সবশেষে একটাই কথা, সবাই ভালো থাকবেন, সুস্থ থাকবেন।
Raising kids can be a thankless task.
We see a child kill a parent for no discernible reason. There was no abuse, and the parent was warm and loving.
I hate you.
Sometimes motherly love
Are they dead?
is not enough.
Elizabeth's hatred for her parents became an obsession.
Teenage rebellion can turn toxic.
police found what looked like a checklist for murder.
And dealing with wayward daughters
This is too crazy.
is murder.
She asked her mother, she's, "Are you dying yet?"
These deadly women don't just break their parental bonds, they destroy them. They are the killer kids.
I heard everyone who knows that is practicing sex.
England in the early 1980s.
Oh, so how did it go?
An exclusive girls' boarding school is home to American teenager Elizabeth Haysom.
Then we went back to his place.
Elizabeth was very British in her upbringing. It was not a typical American way of raising children.
Elizabeth has been at boarding school since the age of 8, only seeing her globe-trotting parents a few times a year.
The girls at the school became her sisters and her family.
Elizabeth is a straight-A student who plans to study the arts at Cambridge University. But her parents, Derek and Nancy,
How could you do this to me?
have other ideas.
It's for your own good, Elizabeth.
I don't want to do maths.
You're tough.
Elizabeth's parents decided to put her on a track of high-level science and math classes so that she could become an engineer, just like her father was.
I don't want to do engineering.
You better get interested, or you won't be going to Cambridge.
You are ruining everything.
She wanted to do what she wanted to do, not what her parents wanted her to do.
I hate you.
Elizabeth drops out of school.
She started failing in everything she did.
Oh, thank you.
Her dreams of going to Cambridge University were doomed.
What about me, girls? I'm feeling kind of left out.
She runs away to Europe, plunging into an orgy of sex and drugs.
Kiss me first.
She and another girl ended up in Germany, where Elizabeth spent weeks on the street, living from hand to mouth.
She blames her parents for her downfall. But being destitute, Elizabeth is forced to return home.
There was something very deep-seated and disturbing in the relationship between Elizabeth and her parents.
I'm home.
In Lynchburg, Virginia, once again Elizabeth is under her parents' roof and control.
How dare you do this to yourself?
You did this to me.
Who sent you to the best schools, Elizabeth?
Elizabeth's hatred for her parents was way over the top. It became an obsession.
Now you clean yourself up. You fix that ridiculous hair.
She wrote 39 pages in one diary about how much she hated them.
Now get out of my sight. So you've been all over Europe?
Yes, I've been
Her parents convince Elizabeth to straighten up and resume her studies at the University of Virginia,
In Thailand?
where she meets 18-year-old Jens Soring.
Do you need a refill of your glass?
Oh, that would be lovely.
Jens was the son of a German diplomat. His life had been very secluded And Elizabeth was a sophisticated young woman who had a lot more worldly experience than Jens, and she was a little older. He naturally fell into her spell.
My father is such a bastard.
It's so wrong what they did.
Naive and inexperienced, Jens is easy prey.
She had one thing to offer Jens that he never had before, and that was sex. I think she really turned it on with Jens and entrapped him.
Jens, you have to help me do something.
I'll do anything for you.
Jens thinks he's found the perfect lover. Elizabeth has found the perfect weapon.
What stood out for me was the pure cold-bloodedness that Elizabeth exhibited when she started grooming Jens for this crime.
Do
20-year-old Elizabeth Haysom has argued with her parents for years.
I hate you.
Finally, she seems to settle down. But in truth, something is brewing underneath. She shares her deepest feelings with her lover, 18-year-old Jens Soring. They're no ordinary love letters.
She started talking about murdering her parents, from general terms to specific terms, to eventually an ultimatum. I hate my parents. I want you to kill them, or the relationship is over.
Lynchburg, Virginia, March 29th, 1985. Elizabeth buys 2 tickets to the movies, but goes alone, settling in for a night of entertainment.
Well, look who's dropped by.
It's the geeky ninja. Is it for?
Jens goes to his own horror show. It starts with an innocent meal.
Derek was not too happy to see Jens there because Derek did not care much for Jens, but they let him in.
So what would you with my daughter?
Frank was sort of in a relationship.
Mr. Haysom was bitterly opposed to that relationship.
There's no way you are in a relationship with my daughter.
Jens freaked out.
You really are an asshole.
Jens whipped out this knife and started to work on Derek.
Miss Haysom, she ran into the kitchen.
It was a hell of a fight. There were a lot of bruising, there was a lot of slashing.
Killing in cold blood isn't easy.
Her father refused to die. He fought like a big bear.
After multiple stab wounds, Jens thinks Derek is dead and turns on his wife.
He cut his throat so severely that he almost decapitated her.
But Derek is still alive.
Mr. Haysom, he staggered back through the house and was trying to make it to the front door. Mr. Haysom had been stabbed 36 times, his throat cut from ear to ear, and Ms. Haysom had been stabbed 6 or 7 times, and her throat also was cut from ear to ear. Never seen anyone commit those heinous acts on another person. It was vicious. It was horrendous.
Are they dead?
Elizabeth obviously had a great deal of influence over Jens. She gave him an ultimatum to kill her parents, and he did.
The young killers flee to Elizabeth's old stomping ground, London, living off a fraud scam.
That's it. I'm starving.
In the UK, they worked out this scheme where they would buy goods or merchandise in a prominent department store.
That's good.
You think?
And they would pay for it initially with a bad check, and then they go to another department store and get cash for it.
Who could that be? Hello? Can I help you?
Hello?
Their crimes eventually bring British police to their door.
Jens was standing there and he had on this fake mustache.
What's the problem, officer?
And the detective couldn't resist, and he went over there and he looked at him and he looked at him and he grabbed the mustache and he ripped it off. And I think at that point, Jens kind of collapsed.
So what's going on there?
A search of their belongings finds letters.
One of the things I'll never understand is that Elizabeth and Jens failed to destroy these very incriminating letters.
The letters led the detective constable to believe that the two of them had been involved in a murder somewhere in the United States.
The work of a diligent Bobby finds its way to Virginian police, who matched the letters to the murders of the Haysoms.
If it hadn't been for the detective constables from the Metropolitan Police in London, we never would have arrested either one of them.
Jens Soring is convicted on 2 counts of murder. He receives 2 life sentences. In August 1987, Elizabeth Haysom pleads guilty to being an accessory to her parents' murders. She is also serving life. Elizabeth receives the best education money can buy, but never learns the most important lesson of all: love. Not for her boyfriend or her parents.
I think she is a psychopath who can be very charming at one point, but she has a sinister background.
Elizabeth wasn't just angry at her parents. Elizabeth deeply resented her parents, was unable to walk away from them, and wanted to destroy them. Probably because she blamed them for not accomplishing her goals.
Christmas, 2007. The Doust family of Scripps Ranch, San Diego. gathers for the holidays.
This looked like a typical, enviable, American dream type suburban lifestyle. Loving parents, beautiful children, good schools, good jobs. The future was bright for everybody.
Let me get a photo of all my girls.
Jim and Becky are doting parents to their 3 adopted daughters.
The Dowse family was gold. You were looking at 2 individuals who in their late 30s and 40s were adopting children. And I think that's rare, and I think that's admirable.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, oh, oh.
But their youngest girl, 14-year-old Heather, is a troubled teen.
Heather, come on. Come and join us. This is great.
By all accounts, Heather was a perfectly normal girl until her 14th year. And then she became very rebellious.
Heather was emotionally up and down.
Come on, let's make it look really pretty.
How is she?
She's a little better. I'm not some kind of deaf halfway, you know.
I know you're not.
Well, I'd be fine if you'd all just leave me alone.
Heather would push the envelope to see how much she could get away with, to see how much she could manipulate. And I think as Heather got older, those character traits developed even more.
Heather expresses her inner turmoil in a potent way.
Heather began cutting herself in a way that defaced herself.
Drawing the knife across the skin and watching the blood come out is a momentary distraction from serious emotional or psychiatric issues.
Heather not only harms herself, she turns on her parents.
Heather, you're not going anywhere.
There would be strong words. There would be physical tussles with her dad.
I need the police.
At their wits' end, Heather's parents admit her to a psychiatric ward for professional help.
Dad, and bless his soul, took Heather to a local hospital, unbeknownst to Heather that he was going to do that. That caused a lot of conflict.
Heather was angry with her parents. She felt deceived by them. She didn't want to go to this hospital.
This is nice.
She felt like she was tricked into it.
How you feeling?
Great. Fantastic. You know, the people who love you aren't supposed to lock you up. You ruined my life. I'm never gonna forgive you.
She was put on medication to treat her bipolar disorder and depression.
But the drugs don't seem to help. Heather's moods swing from suicidal to homicidal.
Wham! I'd kill her first. Wham! And that.
She told her friends over and over and over again, I want to kill my parents. I want to kill my mom.
Wham! You don't mean that. That's all I can think about.
I believe her friends just thought Heather was full of hot air and didn't really think that was going to happen.
Heather also starts exploring her sexuality with girls at her school.
This was a private Christian school, and there were reports of potential lesbian activity by Heather.
The school won't tolerate Heather's behavior. She is expelled.
She was saddened by it. She was depressed by it.
Being expelled from school was a very, very serious rejection. We don't want you here. We don't want you with your friends.
Frozen out of her social network, Heather brings her relationships home.
The parents had a very strict policy that when friends came over, the door had to be open. When her mother saw the door closed in the bedroom and went inside, Heather's mother caught her having lesbian sex with a friend of hers.
Heather. Oh, what on earth? Michaela, you get yourself dressed and go home. Hey, Heather, what are you doing?
Heather openly defied her mother and father by having sex in her bedroom.
Get out! Mother, what on
Angered, her mom, Becky, lays down the law, but Heather is done with rules.
Take this bat. I'm gonna smack her in the head. How many times can you smack someone in the head until they die?
The argument was monumental. It was horrible. Teenagers, especially girls, they may say, "Oh, I hate mom, I wish she was dead." But those are just words. Those don't tend to mean anything. They meant everything to Heather. She meant what she was saying.
Heather! Oh! What are you doing? Oh, Heather!
San Diego teenager Heather Doust is coming undone. Psychiatric counseling and medication haven't curbed her erratic and abusive behavior.
Heather went from being suicidal to angry. And Heather started telling her parents that she hated her parents.
What about the doctors?
What are the doctors gonna do?
Her medication.
She doesn't take her medication.
Her parents are out of options. But Heather is working on a solution of her own.
Heather was in her bedroom, very quiet. She was Googling terms like child murderer and children who kill.
After surfing the net, she went back down. She engaged her mom in conversation as though nothing was wrong.
What are you doing? Chilling while you watch. You game show.
Everything appeared to be normal at that particular time.
But in the early hours of May 25th, 2008, Heather starts practicing.
Heather got up very early, about 4 o'clock in the morning. She picked up a baseball bat and started hitting it against a tree.
The fact that Heather battered a tree at 4 in the morning tells me that her behavior was pretty much out of control.
But Heather decides she needs a weapon that is easier to conceal.
Instead of the baseball bat, Heather decided to use a hammer. Heather had vowed that she would kill the first person who got up that morning.
Her adoptive mom, Becky, is first out of bed.
You look tired. Have you had your medication? I don't need my medication. Yes, you do need your medication.
Heather had approached her mom from behind, got her mother on the ground in the kitchen, and continued to pound mom in the head numerous times until her mom died.
It's a murder where the killer really wants the victim to know how much they hate them.
I've never seen a 14-year-old child hammer her mother in the back of her head in the brutal fashion this was done.
What have you done?
Awakened by the noise, Heather's father, Jim, stumbles into a nightmare.
Dad took her to the ground, and I think ended up on the couch with her.
Heather was saying, "Kill me now." And he said, "Why?" "Because I killed mom. I was in a cloud. Kill me."
Dad, what is going on?
Call 911 now. Heather, why?
Right after the murder, Heather told one of the policemen that she was half sad that her mother was gone and half glad that her mother was gone. Heather apparently thought her parents were the enemy. Her mother was destroying her life. Truth of the matter is, for Heather, the enemy is within.
As police look for a motive, they discover a premeditated killer.
On Heather's phone, police found what looked like a checklist for murder.
She talked about cleaning up things, getting rid of bodies. That's a tremendous amount of premeditation.
Prosecutors don't see this murder as the childish impulse of a 14-year-old. Heather is charged and prosecuted as an adult.
In this particular case, our district attorney made the decision that because of the planning and the premeditation, and in the way it was so heinous, that the appropriate forum was adult court.
In December 2009, Heather pleads guilty to second-degree murder. Incredibly, the man whose wife is bludgeoned to death stands by his adopted daughter.
Dad never abandoned her. Dad was in her corner from day one, visited her in the juvenile facility, wrote her letters, talked with her on the phone, and at the Heather sentencing hearing, there was actually declarations from other family members forgiving Heather.
The court doesn't accept mental illness as an excuse, but Heather's family link her troubles to her birth parents.
One of her parents was schizophrenic, one of her parents was bipolar.
The likelihood that she could have come out unscathed by any of that is probably less than 50%.
She was born with this genetic predisposition to have severe mental problems. It was almost like she was predestined to do something like this.
Heather Doust is sentenced to 16 years to life. She will be 30 years old when she's eligible for parole.
What is shocking about this crime is that the parents did everything right. Her parents did everything by the book, and it still went tragically wrong.
This was one of the saddest cases any prosecutor, any deputy DA will ever deal with, especially when you have children of your own. You see perhaps things in your own life that are tough to deal with your kids at times, but you never in a million years imagine it's going to lead to murder.
The sleepy suburb of Coral Springs, Florida, 1995.
Bless us, O Lord, and these your gifts, which we're about to receive from your bounty. Amen.
This looks delicious.
Nikki Reynolds is a wholesome, happy teenager.
Now, get later, I'll be going to church.
Adored by her parents, Robert and Billie Jean.
Brownies for that bake sale. You're going to help me, aren't you? Yep, and eat the chocolate.
Oh, not too much.
Nikki had been adopted when she was just a few months old, and the Reynolds were absolutely delighted to get her.
Help me say, choir practice last night. You two girls, incredible.
She excels in school
It's so good to sing at home.
and is deeply committed to her faith.
Well, how about a little tune right now?
Oh, no, Dad, don't be silly. Of course we can.
Come on.
You had this all-American girl who goes through her life being like a really good kid, really well-behaved, loved in church, loved in school.
Peace on earth and mercy mild.
But soon, Nikki strays from the righteous path. Her worship turns from God to guys.
She met a guy at high school, she fell in love, and she got pretty obsessed with this kid, Carlos.
Nikki enters a new world of seduction and sex.
She felt like she was really in love with him, had based her whole life around him.
This isn't typical teen infatuation. Nikki has problems that run deep.
Borderline personality disorder is a very complex group of behaviors, mostly characterized by the inability to handle any kind of rejection.
Nah, I can't make it tomorrow.
Well, why not?
Stuff to do.
Are you breaking up with me again?
No, baby, just calm
Like many
down.
teenagers,
Tell me to
Carlos
calm
doesn't
down.
want to get too serious.
Is there someone else?
No.
When he threatens to dump Nikki, she sets a trap.
What? What is it?
I think I'm pregnant. I don't.
Whenever they would break up, she would come back with a story, well, guess what, I'm pregnant.
You're not lying to me again, right?
No! Carlos, I love you.
He had told her at some point that if she was pregnant, he would never dump her, that he would stand by her. Then it would transpire that she wasn't, and he would fall off the scene again.
Nikki's borderline personality disorder is taking over her life.
I don't want to see him!
Too bad you're going.
She started becoming moody.
Nikki, the pastor can help you.
She started arguing with her mother, with whom she'd always been close.
Please, Nikki, there's something terribly wrong. Yes, there's something wrong. My fat-ass mother won't let go.
Nobody really realized things were as bad inside her head as they were.
Get your hands off me!
Carlos finally has enough of Nikki's antics
What an ugly bitch.
and dumps her for another girl.
Surely you can do better than that!
Get over it.
Her image is everything, and anything that made her look bad, in her case, maybe not having a man on her arm, having been rejected by her boyfriend, was intolerable.
Her parents have had enough, too, and arranged to see the school counselor.
What are you doing here?
Just calm down.
So are you talking about with her?
We're trying to help you. You've got to stop lying.
I am pregnant, Mom. I'm not lying this time. You've got to stop interfering in my life. No! No!
We'll see you tomorrow morning at 10.
But Nikki has her own plans for the next morning.
When Nikki's world didn't go right, she way overreacted.
There's a storm brewing in the mind of teenager Nikki Reynolds.
Is there someone else? Is there?
No.
Dumped by her boyfriend, suffering from borderline personality disorder.
I can tell when you're lying!
Her mood swings are out of control. May 1997. Coral Springs, Florida.
I don't want you to take me. I want to go by myself.
Too bad.
Concerned about her behavior,
But I have to be
Nikki's parents are seeking help.
To meet your friends because we're going to see the counselor.
Well, I'll go by myself.
No!
But Nikki has other plans.
Nikki wanted to murder her boyfriend, to kill him with a knife, because she wanted people to see how hurt she was by what he had done.
But why can't we go another day?
I said I'm going to drive you into school tomorrow, and that's final.
Now Nikki's parents are in the way.
Nikki's solution to this problem was to murder her parents that night.
I'm off to church now, honey.
All right, sweetie, I'll see you later tonight, all right?
Mother and daughter are alone.
She was thinking, I'm going to kill my mom and dad, and then I'll have a clear run in the morning. I can drive to school, kill him, and there didn't seem to really be a plan after that.
Nikki was in the kitchen doing dishes. She reached in and she grabbed a large butcher knife. She checked the knife to see if it was sharp enough. She believed it was. She walked up behind her mother. As she drew the knife across the throat, she realized the knife wasn't sharp enough to cut deep enough.
Billie Jean is just pleading for her life. It must have been absolutely terrifying. You're in your own home with the daughter that you've nurtured since she was a couple of months old. This girl had completely turned on her. She's telling Nikki that she loves her, telling her that she needs help, begging her to stop.
Are you dying?
Her mother said, yes, Nikki, the life is going out of me, but you'll still go to heaven. She placed the knife in her 2 more times, and her mother was motionless.
But murder isn't as easy as Nikki hopes. And she's only a third of the way through her plan.
She was going to clean up and hide her mother, and then wait for her father to come home, and she was going to ambush him as he came through the door.
But Nikki has lost her will.
Nikki realized it had been too difficult emotionally, and she was not going to be able to kill her father. She gave up and called the police.
I just killed my mother. This is too crazy.
Sergeant Paul Firm is one of the first at the scene.
She was crying. She had a t-shirt on, a pair of shorts, and there was a lot of blood on her legs, her arms, and her hands.
The exhausted girl immediately confesses.
Get your hands up!
We didn't even have to question her. She started at the beginning of and just went right through all the facts in very, very detailed account. It was chilling.
What starts as a war against her lover destroys her family.
Nikki had one singular motivation. It was to stop the pain that she was feeling because Carlos dumped her.
In her trial, Nikki pleads not guilty on the grounds of insanity.
No one ever disputed that Nikki Reynolds had serious psychological problems. The question really became was she insane at the time of the murder? Did she understand what she was doing, and did she know right from wrong?
The jury decides she does. In 2001, Nikki Reynolds is sentenced to 21 years behind bars for second-degree murder.
I hope Nikki gets lots of effective psychotherapy in prison. She's going to need it to deal with what she did to her mother, and she's going to need it if she has any chance of being safe among us in the future.
These deadly women went from devoted daughters to cold-hearted killers. Elizabeth Haysom reveled in twisted revenge. Heather Doust proved love can't conquer all. And Nikki Reynolds saw her mom as an obstacle on the road to murder. They are deadly women who severed family ties in the most savage way. They became killer kids.